The federal government, meanwhile, now allowing nearly 3,000 illegal migrants into New York City to find work. Mayor Eric Adams says more migrants need to be granted work permits. 5,000 have applied so far for work permits. Joining me right now is New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, who is introducing a bill today which would prevent migrant housing on federal lands. Congresswoman, I want to get to your bill in a moment, but what's your take on these work permits? We're talking about a job situation where Americans need jobs as well, and yet we're opening all the opportunities up to the illegal migrants, aren't we?
Look, the bottom line is we need to have a visa system in which we actually know who is coming into this country, who they are, where they're going, what their intentions are. The way this administration is setting it up, they're just allowing millions of people to come into the country. 50% of them don't qualify for asylum if you look at the court data, and they're abusing the asylum process. I'm all for people wanting to come legally, like my parents did, to this country and having an opportunity to work and provide for their families, but we need to do it in a way that's not going to hurt Americans, that's not going to make sure that the fentanyl is coming over the border as well, all right? I just met with the Drug Enforcement Administration yesterday, Maria, and they told me 200,000 pounds of fentanyl seized in New York. Okay, 200,000 pills as well, just in one mill in the Bronx. I mean, it's out of control. And the fact that the president allows this to continue and claims that they are the people who are compassionate about this is not good for the migrants. It's not good for American citizens. So look at the women who are being raped, children being raped as well. Where's their compassion?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen kids coming into America from the Rio Grande. And they are getting their direction from Mexican cartels. We don't know what these Mexican cartel leaders have done to them. But your bill, trying to prevent migrant housing on federal lands, how does that change anything? Why do you think federal lands should not have housing for migrants?
Well, look, we passed H.R. 2, the Border Security Act. Chuck Schumer refuses to take measures to secure our border and stop this crisis, which could be done today. So we have no choice but to try to find ways to stop this flow of individuals. And as long as my mayor keeps providing free housing and services, we're going to see this mass illegal migration. So what my bill does is just say that, look, we can't use our federal parks. This mayor has taken away our schools, assisted living facilities, now our open spaces to house these individuals at a tremendous expense to taxpayers, billions of dollars, and they're cutting police, they're cutting school safety agents. We're down thousands of cops, fewer than we had on September 11, 2001. We're going to go even further back because 2,500 police officers left the force, and this mayor will not replace them. Why? Because he's spending the taxpayers' money to continue these shelters and encampments and continue to provide services that American citizens don't even receive. Yeah. And it's outrageous, and it has to stop.
It sure is. It's incredible, all of the cuts happening in New York. I'm with Lee Zeldin today. And Lee, when you see these kinds of cuts to the police, to all of these agencies in New York, because they actually just need the money to pay for these migrants, what's the impact on New York?
The impact is that more New Yorkers decide to just leave. For businesses that are victims of organized retail crime or just individual acts, they are deciding to just close their doors. The loss of jobs, the loss of an economic impact. There are New Yorkers every single day deciding that they've had enough and it's time to leave. Fortunately, Congresswoman Malliotakis is in Congress representing New York City, but her colleagues from all throughout New York City, people like AOC, when opportunities like when Amazon was going to come bring 25,000 good-paying jobs to Queens, she works overtime to do whatever she can to prevent Amazon from showing up. So, Congresswoman Malliotakis, thank you for what you're doing. The one thing as far as economic impacts, and I saw news coming out on the congestion pricing. Now, how are these policies out in New York City going to be impacting Staten Island, the one borough of the 5 where they're smart enough to elect a Republican?
Look, the bottom line here is that our government, unfortunately, keeps taking from hard-working, tax-paying citizens to help fund their disastrous spending and lack of accountability. I mean, the reality is, if Lee Zeldin was the governor right now, we would not be having this issue about the federal lands, because it was Kathy Hochul that went into this contract with the governor and is paying for it.
Right.
She's also requested military installations, Maria. Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn.
Are you
she wants
serious?
to use Fort Hamilton and other bases. I am. It was in a letter that she wrote to the president requesting military installation. So I have a bill that will address that as well. But the federal lands bill is coming up for a vote today.
She wants that military installation, Fort Hamilton, to be a place for migrants?
Well, we don't know if it's that particular one, but in general, she has requested that the federal government provide military installations in federal lands to house migrants. And so, look, we got to do everything we can legally and legislatively to try to stop this, and that's what we're doing.
Congressman, a study from the Anti-Defamation League found nearly 75% of Jewish students have seen or been victims of on-campus anti-Semitism since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. More than 50% said that they don't feel physically safe anymore on campus. 33% say that they do not feel emotionally safe on campus. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer finally spoke out about rising anti-Semitism on the Senate floor yesterday, after I've been raising the issue that we haven't heard a peep from him since this all began. Here's him yesterday. Watch.
Jewish Americans are feeling singled out, targeted, and isolated. In many ways, we feel alone. Jewish Americans were alarmed to see some of our fellow citizens characterize a brutal terrorist attack as justified because of the actions of the Israeli government. When Jewish people hear chants like "From the river to the sea," a founding slogan of Hamas, a terrorist group that is not shy about their goal to eradicate the Jewish people in Israel and around the globe, we are alarmed.
Finally, we get some comments from the leader in the Senate, Congresswoman. What do you think he's going to do about it, and what can you do about it?
Well, Maria, last week we actually had a Ways and Means hearing on this topic. I'm proposing that we start holding these institutions accountable. It's very sad what we're seeing on these college campuses, and we need these college presidents to hold these students and hold these professors accountable. And if they don't, we need to take action by looking to strip their 501c status, by stripping federal funding, by making sure that student federal aid cannot be used at those institutions. Let them be used at another institution that does not promote and foster anti-Semitism. We need to look at student visas. If those foreign students are participating in these anti-Semitic activities, we need to have those visas revoked. I think those are some ideas of where we can go with this, and also make sure that all our educational institutions are using the IHRA definition of the Holocaust when they're educating our young people. I think that is a major problem as well. And so I think those are just some ideas that I've proposed, and I'm drafting legislation that would address it.
You know, what's amazing about what Congresswoman Malliotakis just said about the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, our federal government doesn't even define what anti-Semitism is. We have a special envoy to combat anti-Semitism, but there is no definition of what anti-Semitism even is. How can we stop it? It's a great point.
And when pressed on it, what did they do at the White House? They came up with a program to fight Islamophobia.